Hey everyone, how's it going? I'm Bonnie Violet, trans femme, genderqueer, spiritual drag artist, digital chaplain.
I'm Pacey, trans-masc, non-binary, mental health and recovery advocate.
And welcome to Transjoyboise, where every story, laugh, and act of joy is a stand for our community.
We uplift bold voices, share real experiences, and celebrate trans lives thriving.
Tune in, connect, and spread the joy, because trans joy is
unstoppable.
Yes, I started to lose my voice there for a minute.
No worries, it's all good.
We'll get there eventually.
And we obviously, folks who are watching us, you can see that we do have a guest. Would you like to go ahead and introduce yourself?
Hi, yes, I'm Tacoma, local artist, performer, advocate, activist. You might also know me as Rachel Lee Motivated. I'm really happy to be here. Thank you for having me.
Awesome, we're really stoked to have you. You were like first on our list to be a guest when we first started and got going with the podcast. So we're excited to get you here. Yes,
exactly. And I love working with you and stuff in like the advocacy setting. You know, getting to do the event with the ACLU was really nice. Just to see you like in a different setting than I'm used to seeing you.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because I'm usually like fake boobs, big heels, you know, so definitely
yeah,
which is also great.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I definitely got introduced to you through your drag, which is just, I think it's very unique. I think to like you're your own drag queen. You know, I wouldn't say, you can't say like, oh, you're like this drag queen or that drag queen, which a lot of people, unfortunately, will say like, oh, you kind of remind me of this or kind of remind me of that. And I'm always I would say almost surprised in some ways because you have such a range of what you do.
Yeah. I think it's a blessing and a curse because like sometimes when I'm looking for inspiration, there's not an easy way for me to look at like, oh, let's see what this artist does because that's very similar to my style. I feel like, you know, humble brag. I have a very diverse range of expression artistically.
And how long have you been doing drag? I know it seems like you're newer on the scene here, so to speak, but I know
I've only not even 2 years. It's gonna be 2 years in August.
Damn.
But yeah. I know, it's been really fun, like probably the best years of my life, honestly, because I had to overcome a lot and there were moments where like it's always been a dream of mine to like have that stage, to have that spotlight. But there were definitely some rough times where I didn't feel deserving or I didn't feel like I loved myself enough. But being able to do drag and being welcomed into such a cool community has really helped light my own flame, I guess.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah, I'm curious. And I know that are you from Idaho originally?
I was born in Washington, but I've been here pretty much my whole life.
Right.
Yeah. I moved when I was a year old.
Okay.
If that. But
so this is what you know. Have you always been in like the Boise area or?
Yeah. I've always been in Boise, but I used to live closer to Kuna, like out by the waterfall. I can't remember the name of it. Anyway.
I don't know Kuna very well. Yeah.
My favorite thing when you performed was like in the McCall show, that when the straight men, they love you. Oh my gosh, it's hilarious to me because like they get rowdy about it and they're kind of just like flustered by you, and that is my favorite part. 100%.
Yes, I really love being able to meet an audience halfway with my art. I feel like that's always one of the biggest goals of mine that I strive for, because I have a lot of really crazy ideas in my head, and I know sometimes people have other similar crazier ideas. And so I feel like there's a lot of magic in reading the room and like matching that energy with like every performance.
Yeah. Well, also pushing it a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I think that's a hard balance sometimes that I don't think all artists, and not that all artists need to do that, but I think one of the things that you do well is that you're able to kind of though meet them where they're at, but then push them a little further, but not in a way that like alienates them from what you're doing. Because there's some things that can be done and you'd be like, okay, that's kind of crazy.
Yeah.
It might even be cool, but you kind of like, I don't know, you can kind of distance yourself from it. Whereas I feel like your drag is a lot more approachable. I don't know if approachable is the right word, but
I'll take it.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yes.
I think that art is and always has been a really great way to spread awareness
Mhm.
and to, I guess, even just like a form of rebellion, right? And I think that the way that you're able to kind of push the envelope, it's in a way that is, you know, in settings like at the balcony, it's kind of like an acceptable way, but also like, you know, like
Yeah.
you're getting this message out there that otherwise wouldn't be out there right now. And I think that's so important. And I think it's great that you're able to use the platform that you have with being this performer to help spread this awareness and to help educate people and get people fired up about the things that we need them to be really fucking fired up about. And that's like something that only performers can do, I think. So it's so cool to see such like a prominent local performer really digging their heels in and trying to get people fired up.
Yes.
I love that.
And I know you mentioned you had a lot of range in like your performance, but do you yourself kind of have an idea of like how would you describe your art, maybe your drag, and or maybe like if there's some sort of message you kind of have that's kind of, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Honestly, I really hope that my art and the range of it just reflects how nuanced and varied life can be.
Awesome.
Because I definitely have a lot of really stupid numbers where I'm just trying to get people to laugh. I'm just trying to like, you know, spread joy. But then there are other moments where I'm really trying to like scream at the audience to get them to like get a message. And there are times where it's like almost spiteful, I feel like. And I don't know, I really just hope that my art helps express my emotions clearly to more people.
When you say spiteful, could you share specific? I'm curious about when you said spiteful. I'm like, ooh, I'm curious.
Well, I mean, like, it's been very toned down just because I know there's a couple of names I shouldn't name or necessarily stances I shouldn't oppose, especially performing at somewhere like the balcony. And I really, this is a little sneak peek of like what I have cooking, but just this year I produced a January 6th show and I had everyone wear like MAGA caps and dressed as like fishermen. And then recently I had the What About Straight Pride show and there were actually a lot of straight people there, which was very funny to see like a new audience kind of engage with somewhere they wouldn't go normally. But my newest little project I got cooking up is shaping up to be very divisive, and I'm excited to see what type of art it helps produce.
Oh, nice. I'm intrigued and curious. I'm excited to see what that is.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think we've talked about it, and I'm very excited for it.
Me too.
It'll be good. I think that's so important, though, to kind of make people uncomfortable in a comfortable setting.
Yeah.
You know, to just kind of like, because we need more people to be educated on these things and fired up and willing to go out and support these causes. So I fucking love it.
Yeah. Thank you.
So yesterday was kind of a rough day, and I kind of wanted to talk about that a little bit, just because I feel like some of the people that are watching this or listening to this will be affected by it. Yesterday was the first day yesterday. It was the first day that HB 264 went into effect, and that was Idaho's bathroom ban, basically, where it's for universities, community colleges, prisons, correctional facilities, and even domestic violence shelters. You have to use the restroom that aligns with the sex you were assigned at birth. And people can sue the establishment of a restroom if they see someone that's using like the incorrect restroom.
Right.
And I think that, you know, from what I've shared and seen from responses all over the country is people are just like mainly saying, don't go to Idaho, or I'm so glad I got out of Idaho. And people here are really afraid.
Yeah.
And I mean, obviously, yeah, it's terrible, but I feel like everyone in the community just is starting to get even more of this weight on their shoulders of all of these things that are consistently coming out in the news.
Yeah. And I think bathrooms have always been kind of a challenge for us as it is.
Anyway, yeah.
You know what I mean? And so I think also with this, like, I think there's a lot of confusion, or like, I think it's really easy to kind of blanket that means all restrooms everywhere in public. I know that initially that was some confusion. And though that isn't true, I think right, exactly. I think there's the yet, but I think it also still, I think for me, it does add an additional layer again of like, okay, maybe it's not at a university or at a correctional facility, but even just using the restroom in public, I think makes me think even more about it again. I mean, I've already moved around my life. Like we just drove to Seattle, and those were some of the first times that I used restrooms, not at places I know. And that's partially because I can't go 8 or 9 hours without peeing.
Right.
Yeah.
That was my goal. But luckily, but it was like every time we stopped, it was like, okay, I need to pee, but what's the situation? You know? And some of them have one use that's not that big of a deal, but there were a couple times when I had to go into the women's room. And especially being in like Idaho, Oregon, Washington, like some of the stories that you've heard of like vigilante, if you will, kind of like people who decide to take it into their own about, somebody being in the bathroom that they don't think they need to is in those areas. And so I was definitely like a little anxious about it.
We used the buddy system.
We did.
Yeah.
My partner went with you.
Yeah.
It's what's your experience with that?
I think it sets a very dangerous precedent because just because it's not codified for all public restrooms, it gives businesses a legal shield to discriminate against trans people.
Yeah,
absolutely.
And I feel like that's only going to drive the fervor even more, especially with the pushback and the bigoted response to a stronger queer presence in Boise.
Yeah.
Just it also makes it like hard for businesses that are allies to continue to support the community, because if they're facing a lawsuit of $5,000-$10,000 just for giving someone the option to use the bathroom that they choose, how are they going to continue to do that?
Yeah. Well, and then I think there's the whole issue too of just like how is a university going to enforce that? Like, are they going to have security at the entrance of all the bathrooms? Like, are they going to like stop somebody before they get in there? Like, it's I think that's going to be interesting. I think to see how universities and that are going to, and to some degree, well, all it takes is one person in a facility, you know what I mean? Because to me, I think most universities might be like, whatever, we're not gonna, you know what I mean? Like, there's not gonna be any issue because nobody's gonna complain, and that sort of thing. But that's not true. Like, it will happen at some point for sure.
Definitely.
Yeah. Well, in the hearings for it, everyone was saying, like in their testimonies, like, how are you going to enforce this? Who's going to police this? Because it is impossible, right? Unless like you're either going to have guards that are doing these invasive searches, like invasive genital searches of the people that you're claiming to protect with this bill, or you're going to leave it up to the public. And we're already seeing the consequences of that nationwide, where people are taking it into their own hands and they're beating people that aren't even like that one woman wasn't even trans, and they beat her unconscious just for being in the women's restroom.
Yeah. That she was told she had to be in. I mean, it was where she wanted to be, but
Right. Yeah, there's a lot of I'm feeling a lot of fear, definitely, just with the enforcement aspect of it, because like you could have, because I notice even allies and even other queer people, we have our own biases, we have our own blind spots. And so like I can't imagine just how blind and like bigoted straight people or like guards or whatever type of enforcement is going to be, especially somewhere like Idaho.
Yeah, it definitely puts the power, if you will, and tells people they have the power to kind of reinforce it as just like a normal citizen, right? To at least report it. But I still think there's some power in that will probably lead to other things as well.
Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Transjoy is resistance. Transjoy is community. Transjoy is here with our weekly social support group. Join us for a welcoming and affirming space where trans, non-binary, and gender diverse individuals can connect, share, and support one another. We will have peer-led discussions, social connection, and mutual support in a space where you can be heard, celebrated, and uplifted. No RSVP needed, just show up and be you. We'll gather every Thursday from 5 to 7 p.m. at Roots Market. For more info, click on the link in our show notes. Yeah.
I'm not thrilled.
Yeah. Well, and I think right now, a lot of the universities and stuff aren't necessarily like deep in class, like they're not maximum with students and stuff. So I think probably come fall is going to become maybe more of a, I don't know, like something's going to go down, if you will.
Something.
Yeah. Well, and there was a whole lot of other kind of, like this facilities bill is one that's like specifically for trans people, but there's a lot of other recent laws in Idaho that came into effect yesterday as well. Now they have the firing squad for death penalties, or what do they call it? Yeah, death penalty. Yeah. And then I also know that they removed access to like state funded programs for people who are undocumented, for immigrants who are undocumented. Yeah. And there was a bunch of others. I told myself I was going to remember them all. And I don't remember them all at the moment.
There's too many.
There's
too many to remember.
I saw a person like list like 10 and it didn't even include the facilities one, it was like, and she was like, oh, there's so many more. And so, I'm curious to see. They also made like, I don't know. It's just a lot of different laws that came into effect for sure.
And the big, beautiful bill passed. And like 14 million people are going to lose their health insurance because they're like gutting Medicare or Medicaid. I'm on Medicaid.
Yeah, I anticipate that I'm going to lose access to Medicaid. And which will then I'm also a person living with HIV. And so I think that would put me on an AIDS drug assistance program through Ryan White. That would make me eligible because now I'm not eligible through Medicaid. And as it is, to access gender affirming care, I do it through self-pay right now. It's like a sliding fee to where it's somewhat affordable, but it's a stretch for me to have my gender affirming care, but it's like super important. And so but with my HIV care, it's like $5,000 a month for one medication. For one medication. So I can't do that self-pay. I'm not in a position to buy my own insurance. I don't have a job in which I get insurance that would cover that. And so then I have to rely on the AIDS drug assistance program, which I believe, because they also cut that recently on a federal level, that we're going to start having waiting lists where people living with HIV are going to have to wait months, maybe even longer, to get access to their life-saving medication. So, and then there's that lawsuit right now with the ACLU around access to PrEP. There's a doctor in Idaho. I want to look into it a little bit more, but there's a doctor in Idaho along with the ACLU that are suing the federal government for some sort of cuts or denials of access to PrEP in particular for, I think it actually might be for undocumented folks, but I think it's more of a broader stroke of removing access to that as well.
Definitely. With all the news, it feels like overflow, but the more that I read about stuff that comes out, it feels like very malicious synergy.
Yeah.
In not only is HRT and trans healthcare in Idaho already at risk, but now with Medicaid being gutted, the after effects of the withdrawals from people who just can't afford it anymore are going to go untreated because queer people don't really have a lot of health insurance. A lot of us don't have health insurance. I know I don't have health insurance, and it's going to make it very scary because it places a lot of power into employers
I think there's, employers are, I don't think, and I think part of the challenge is why some of us don't get the jobs that we get or get to, work in the fields that we want to, is partially because I think being in Idaho in particular, it's not an asset to be a trans or queer person in those sorts of settings, because in some ways we just create, I think, perception of burden or more problem, because maybe they need to have a different bathroom now, or they have to use pronouns or not, which is now even like, you know what I mean? Like, it's just, I think it's just complicated for some folks, and they're just choosing not to fuck with it.
Yeah. Instead of like educating or seeking to understand more, they just like shut themselves off and stick their heads in the sand.
Yeah. And not to say all, because I do think there's a lot of other like smaller businesses and different groups that are actually, I think, even making an effort to hire more people from marginalized communities. I think for that reason, but
one thing that we've talked about on here a lot is, because I want to get your perspective on this, is the lines that we have for what feels like the moment where you're like, okay, I need to leave. So for me, it was 2 of the 3 have already been crossed. So it's like, and the first one hit and I was like, oh, okay, well, maybe I'll just wait. And then the second one hit and I'm like, okay, so I don't know if I ever actually will leave. But what is the thing for you that will be the moment that you're like, okay, I think I actually have to flee now?
I think I don't think I really have any. I mean, like, being a Black trans person anywhere in America is unsafe. And I already kind of know some of the community here. I've already kind of built up something that feels like it can grow. And I have a lot of friends, like, thankfully they're able to like get to more safe environments, but I'm just like, personally, I don't feel safe anywhere in America, no matter where I go, just because I'm kind of this intersection of like all the marginalization in the world. But I don't know. It might be nice to be paid more in like a different city and stuff, but with how much I've seen in Idaho, it feels like a fight that I can't ignore.
Well, and I think then maybe this is what I was sensing, but maybe not what you said. But for me too, a big part of, I think, the thing that keeps me here is the people who are still here, who I am connected with and feel, you know what I mean? It's like, yes, we're in this hard spot, but I have like these bubbles and I have these places and this community that I feel really tight to, that I know in my experience living in other cities, I didn't have that like I have here. And so I think, and that's a huge thing, especially when you're talking about no matter where I go, I'm still going to be a Black trans person. And so whether I'm in San Francisco or I'm in New York or I'm like, whatever, I'm still going to deal with those issues, because, just because you live in a larger city doesn't mean you're not going to be impacted in those ways. We hear about it all the time. So and I think for me too, that's just kind of the aspect of like, well, at least I know, I think some people, what's that thing? Like, it's better to like the evil, is better than what's that? Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Then like the evil you don't.
Yeah. So it's kind of like, I know the gross here. Like, I know how it is. I've been in it. I've survived in it. In some ways, it's not probably impacting me in the ways that it used to, because I've learned to kind of like manage that. I was kind of hearing that a little bit in what you were saying.
Yeah, definitely. Like, I grew up here my whole life, basically. So I've definitely learned to cope with the unique way that Idaho is bigoted.
Yeah.
I would say. But yeah, I mean, I've taken a lot of trips over to Seattle, and that definitely seems like somewhere I want to build up and maybe connect to, but I don't think I would leave Idaho, just because I feel like, if all the fight leaves and moves away, then they're able to just run free and create whatever monstrosities they're planning.
I agree. And I think part of it for me is being able to look at, like, we did get to go to Seattle recently. There was this idea of like, it's cool to see what's happening there that's so different than here. But for me, oftentimes it's just like a place to get ideas of like, how can we do this here? Because even like doing the trans march was not a big like brand new idea that I had. It was like I had went to the ones in San Francisco for years and I'd gotten so much from that I was like, we need that here. Like I need that here. And I know so many more people would benefit from it happening here. And so I think even part of us going to Seattle this weekend was to begin to really dream and see what Idaho, I think, could become potentially, even amongst all the extra barriers and challenges that we have here. I mean, in some ways, I feel like we have more of an urgency. And I think sometimes urgency is a powerful ingredient in really getting shit done.
Definitely.
Because we have no choice. But to respond. We can't be complacent. We can't be apathetic. Like we have to do something because our lives do depend on it.
I think what I've seen a lot, especially during Pride Month, is this growing number of people who are sick of being silent. They're tired of looking the other way and ignoring the problems that are happening. There's a very strong vocal majority of bigots, but they're all cowards, hiding away online, working a regular ass job. Like, it's really cool to see that there is a growing resistance and there are a number of people who are becoming and want to become better allies.
So one of the things that I feel like in particular, we started this podcast back at the beginning, or well, it was actually at the end of last year. But I think in the beginning of this, I don't know. I feel like personally, I've been struggling a lot more now with kind of like having the strength and the power to kind of move through. It's probably more about stamina or endurance, if you will. But I'm curious, what is it that you do, or how do you find your strength to kind of continue to show up in community in the way that you do?
I think a lot of that strength comes from a very personal journey I've had, especially just being in Idaho. When I was in high school, I didn't plan to make it to 18. I didn't plan to make it to 21 even. And so like every day that I'm alive gives me that strength. Because it proves that I'm stronger than I ever thought I would be. And I hope that I can help spread that joy and share that hope with other people. Definitely.
I think that you do. And I think you just saying that is, I mean, there's so many of us that can relate to that. Those thoughts, those feelings, those fears, the lack of expectation, if you will, disappointment. How did you shift that? I'm sure you probably still have days.
Definitely.
How did you begin to shift that? Or how would you suggest others?
What really helped me was stepping out of my comfort zone and being willing to educate myself beyond the beliefs I had previously held. I think my willingness to challenge what I know and what I believe in helped shift my mentality into something that's productive, into something that's breathing. Because like I was fully down the alt-right pipeline in high school. I was ingesting a lot of self-hatred. I was ingesting a lot of hatred externally towards others. And I think once I was willing to sit back and question, okay, who's posting this stuff? Why are they posting this stuff? And just kind of disassembled the propaganda in a way. I think being willing to challenge authorities or, intellectuals, regardless of, identity or politics, definitely helped me flip that switch and start kind of living for myself and not trying to meet expectations of like what a man should be or what a woman should be.
Or what a trans person should be.
Or like what a Black person should be. So.
That's so powerful. I think if everyone needs to be able to have that level of self-awareness, and I know that it's really common for people in the LGBTQ community to have come from sort of a sense of phobia ourselves, just from not understanding what we, or maybe not wanting to accept like the truth about ourselves. And I think it's a journey, like I know I did, but I'm older. So like when I was a kid in high school, it was different than it is now. We had 2 gay kids in a large school. But I think that maybe some of the reason that like maggots can't do that is because maybe they're afraid that if they're open about those things, they'll realize like, oh, well, I am kind of gay. And then what are they going to do with like their church, their friends, their family? And I think that if we were able to get rid of this notion of like this toxic masculinity, of this hyperfixation on Christianity, I think that everyone would be so much happier.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's why a lot of people have a problem with queer people and trans people, is because we're not buying into the lies that they've bought into. So even if it's not that they're gay, but maybe they want to express themselves, or they're more comfortable in an expression that isn't so hyper masculine or hyper feminine, that they can have permission and be allowed to do that without being gay or without being trans.
Right.
Because I think even like as a trans person, it took me a long time to transition, because I was like, well, I don't want to be a woman. Like, I don't see myself as becoming a cisgender woman, or my understanding of a woman.
Yeah.
And so for a long time, I never transitioned because I didn't think I was trans enough, or I wasn't trans even. I just was a bearded lady, or like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know. Like, it was like, it took me a long time to get there, because to some degree, even though I was in a gay box, or even my understanding of a queer box, it didn't allow enough space for me to become more of who I was, because it felt like I either had to be a fag or I had to like be a woman.
Yeah.
And I didn't feel like I was either. Like, faggot was closer, right? So I think I landed in that box for so long, even if I became flamboyant as fuck and in every way was kind of a girl, but not, like, to then be able to just own that, okay, I'm trans, and my transness is what is it for me? Which is, I think, sometimes really hard as a trans person, is like, is my expression today about how I feel best? Or is it about how I feel best given the situation that I'm going into? Because I know I've had moments where I was like, I just wish I looked like a real girl so that I didn't get fucked with. So I could go to the bathroom, so I could go to the grocery store, so that my transness was not a thing that I carried with me everywhere. But I don't think that's what I really want. Like, I always feel like I'll always identify as a trans person, even if I ever pass, if you will.
Right.
Like, I still don't think I would want to get rid of the transness, because I feel like being trans really speaks to a larger narrative, and a big part of my narrative of what's taken me to get there.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I found that as I explored my identity, a lot of what might be considered like transition goals were very like misogynistic, or like were very selective in what I deemed as correct, or what I was taught was correct for like a man or a woman.
Yeah. Well, and I think having the head of a queer that I did too, I think in some ways I wasn't allowing myself to go femme enough, because I didn't want to like not be queer anymore, because my identity, my thought of what a woman is so varied that even if my womanhood looked like getting tits and like, like look like makeup and like glammed up and like kind of got to that level, that somehow like that's not a queer woman, or that's not, you know what I mean? Like, you can't have queerness within that. And so I think for me, that's something that I've kind of been challenged by. And I think I had to become more comfortable in my quote unquote womanhood in order to fuck with the gender a little bit more, if that makes sense. Like, I feel like I'm only finally getting into a place where I feel like I can, and that's one thing I loved about Seattle, is like, I can go be around queer people. So like, even though I'm a trans woman, I can like, I don't know, try to present myself more queerly. Like, so like, even just putting my hair back this way, like, I feel like it looks maybe kind of sort of shaved, or, but it's still femme, but it kind of fucks with it a little bit. And that's something I haven't felt comfortable with in a long time, because I feel like I have to read more woman, if you will, than like,
you have to like fit into a box.
Exactly, which doesn't feel authentic.
Yeah, there's a lot of who a person is that's lost when you try to fit into a box that society frames.
Yep. Yeah, and in some ways, I think we just have more boxes to fit ourselves into, and I think it's just trying to not stay in a box.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's what queer people in general do, is that we don't stay in those boxes. For me, being queer, it's my gender, it's my sexuality, it's my politics, it's my spirituality. It's like how I see myself in the world. It's how I want the world to see me in it. I don't ever want to be the status quo.
Right. Yeah.
And I almost feel like that's a calling, even not to get too woo-woo.
No, I love it.
I think that, like, for me personally, I would never want to be a cis man. And I think I can speak for at least some, like, other trans men, trans masks. Like, the point for me was never to be a cis man, because why the fuck would I want that? I think, and I feel like genuinely, and this is like a difficult thing that I've had to come to terms with. It's like, if I had been born a cis man, like, I would not be who I am. Like, I would not be as empathetic. I would be probably misogynistic. I would be, and I don't want to admit that, because I'm like, oh, well, I'm still the same person. Yes, but I would be socialized so different.
Yeah.
And I don't, like, I think there's so much value in being raised AFAB and having that experience of what it's like to be, a girl in this world, and all of the injustices and the danger that is just inherent in that life. And then having the opportunity to see life from the other end, and eventually, be able to be a voice that people will listen to, unfortunately, more in a lot of settings about those injustices. And so when people say, like, you'll never be a real man, I'm like, fucking thank God. I don't want to be a real man.
That's not my goal.
No. And, like, speaking on the fear that a lot of people have about, like, their queerness, I think we're giving these men too much grace, really, because I'm thinking, like, oh, well, they should be able to, like, wear a pink shirt if they want. That's not where they're at. Where they're at is a lot of these really far right men won't even wipe their ass because they think it's gay.
Right.
And, like, or they won't wash their ass because they think it's fucking gay. And I've told people that, and they're like, nuh-uh. I'm like, Google it. You will see these poor girlfriends of these men just being like, he won't, and he says that it's too gay for him to do that. I'm like, okay. So if we're trying to get people to see us as humans and see that they can also, just be a well-rounded version of themselves, they can have femininity, but they are not even willing to do, like, the bare minimum of, like, basic hygiene, it's going to be a struggle to just get them to see us as humans at all. And that's, I mean, it's ridiculous, and it's funny, but it's just like, what a sad way to live.
Sad. Yeah.
It's so sad to, like, be so afraid to come off as gay that you will go to such extremes that are just, like, harmful for you.
And it's also, I don't know, it just makes me think about, like, what created that in people, that, because I get it, because there's a lot of fear. We lose a lot to live the lives that we live. We've had to give up a lot. We've had a lot of things taken from us. We've had to forfeit a lot of things that are pretty important to us in order to, like, live the way that we live. And I think some people might not be able to do that, or maybe they're so caught up in that fear that they can't.
Paralyzed.
It breaks my heart a little.
I've noticed, just in conversations I've had with, like, older people who start to ask those questions, there's so much fear in that. I've seen with older people, they realize, like, they could have lived their whole lives how they wanted to. And being educated in their later years kind of gives them this fear that maybe they wasted however much of their life trying to fit into a box and trying to be acceptable, when we accept a lot more than society tells us to. Like,
yeah. I mean, I feel that way.
yeah,
I came out as a queer, at least in my 20s, and I would still feel that there was so much in my life that I still kind of like, in some ways, I wished I could have seen the world then as I do now.
yeah,
And I'd be blown away at the thought of the person that I would be today if I could have started sooner. But I think I know that it's a journey for all of us. And I think it's just our part in the like, I think in our legacy, and I believe our ultimate of like becoming better people for all of us.
Yeah.
And it's just like my journey, though maybe it did take me a while to get here, will hopefully allow others to not have to in the same way. And so in general, evolution will continue to evolve, even though I might have took a little longer, but I took a little less longer than, I don't know, the people before me or whatever, you know.
Some people live and die without being willing to ask themselves those questions.
Yeah. Well, and I think there's probably a certain level of delusion or whatever that has to be created in yourself, I think, to really allow, like, at least for me, like, like I've had to be completely oblivious to shit to like not want to change. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, and maybe that's a gift of us being queer, but like, I don't know. It's just like, I can't, not for very long, at least.
Right.
Yeah. So you do some work with a local group. Talk about that a little bit.
Yeah. I only really helped with vending, but there's a Treasure Valley Trans Defense Fund started by Ren Carpenter.
Okay.
But she's putting together little self-defense kits to mail out to any trans person that wants it. I believe free of charge.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. I don't really know what's in the boxes, but I know they're a really cool group. They kind of got inspired from other queer chapters like along the West Coast.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
Is there a way for people to connect with that yet? Or is it still kind of in the beginnings?
They have an Instagram page and they've already started sending out kits.
Okay.
I don't know where else they're at, but you know, hopefully she can correct me later and ask for more details.
Okay. Yeah. Maybe we can have her on sometime too.
Yeah.
Have her talk about it a little bit more. But in the meantime, we will go ahead and put it like in the chart notes. What am I, a doctor? I've been reading too many medical stuff. But yeah, like in the description of the video or in the podcast or whatever, so people can get connected.
Yeah. I've also been part of like a smaller group. We don't really even like have a name, but it's just me and like 4 other people. We kind of meet once a month-ish. We read a lot of zines and do a lot of grounding, like grief exercises, just to kind of build more like community and to build a support system that's going to help us transition into whatever the
next step. Yeah. It sounds really cool. Yeah. I'm like, how does a girl get into that?
Yeah, I mean, I don't even really know how I got into it. There was like a Signal group chat or something. But yeah, I definitely want to get in contact and let them because we've been trying to organize just like a group event, just to like an open invite to everybody. But hopefully soon I'll have some more details. I just want to like have a bunch of zines and have a bunch of different organizations just kind of, you know, educate people who are interested in that kind of stuff.
It's more important now than ever.
Yeah.
Every day I say that.
Every day. Yeah. Yeah.
It's fucking worse.
Yeah.
I'm hoping to get more involved with bigger groups and just kind of, you know, any group, because, you know, we all need each other at the end of the day. I really want to get in touch with ACLU and like you guys, like been wanting to get on here forever. So
that's cool. We've been wanting to work with you and connect with you. So we're excited that it's happening and getting to see you speak. I don't think I've mostly seen you in drag. So, or, you know, in between drag, right?
Right.
And so it was really cool to get a chance to like see you on a panel and sharing your experience as, you know, as the person you are in the place that we're at, you know, and it was just really powerful. And I'm excited to get to hear more and see more and for more people to see and hear
Yeah.
what you have to say and what you have to share.
Yeah, because for the longest time, I didn't think my story was worth sharing all that much, just because I didn't see a lot of me in the community representing like who I am. But the more that the more that I share, the more people come up and talk to me and appreciate my perspective. It helps keep pushing me forward, I guess. Like I'm really excited to speak more.
Yeah, definitely. I'd love to see that.
Yeah, definitely. We need more people like you that are willing to just get out in front of people. Yeah. And if you don't do it, who is, right? I know that's been kind of a little bit of, I think, my mentality too, because in some ways I'm like, no.
Me too.
But it's like, nobody's doing, like I sat around for a while and it just felt like things weren't coming together. And so a lot of the reason why I started doing what I do, and the things that I do are things that I need myself, like I wish I wasn't so selfish, but a lot of the things that I'm a part of creating or putting together are things that I need myself. Like I need to get with people on a regular basis to get out of myself and to get out of my situation. I need to see, hundreds of people celebrating trans and non-binary people in Idaho in order to feel better in the world. You know what I mean? And so I don't know.
I feel like there's like definitely a really big like feedback loop of that positivity, of that want to help yourself and to heal yourself. Kind of amplifies that need in other people to want to heal themselves and help others heal. Yeah. So it's very important.
Yeah, and it's very reciprocal.
Reciprocal.
Yeah, in the sense of like we put ourselves out in what kind of might feel difficult ways, or like, but in what kind of comes back at you, and what people share with you, or what you learn about other people, or see how little things can impact people. It really feeds back into you in a way too, at least for me, that makes me feel a little bit better about doing it again, or even stretching a little bit further into my discomfort. Excited to, we get you here and I'm just like, so many things to talk about. And it's always interesting to see like where the conversation is going to go. And I'm hoping that we can have you on here like as often as you want. My feeling is you have an open invitation. I think Preston's probably on board too.
Thank you.
Yeah, definitely. Because I think we've really only just hit the tip of the iceberg. In a lot of ways, I haven't had a lot of conversations with you, and so I'm really eager to get an opportunity to just have more conversations with you and be in spaces with you more. Definitely.
Yeah. Your perspective is very valuable. I know it's so different, like your experience is so different from mine, and I want to be able to continue to learn and grow and learn how to be a better advocate and ally, and I'm sure like vice versa for all of us, right? Especially with this coming legislative session. I think I know it's going to be the worst one we've ever seen. It's going to be really aggressive, like more than last year for sure. And I think that really being able to get people together and to learn from each other's experiences and just support each other is going to be the only way that we get through it.
Yeah. And I think we're probably going to be like rounding up the episode, but I wanted to give you an opportunity that if there's something you'd like to say, either to folks, maybe other trans and non-binary folks that are feeling challenged, or if you want to, like, I don't know, is there something you'd like to say to folks who might come across this?
Yeah. To any and all trans queer youth, keep fighting, keep waking up, keep showing up for yourself every day. I said it before in the panel, but like, it's easy to do it happy. It's easy to do it when you're inspired, but do it angry, do it furious, do it sad, do it depressed. Just show up for yourself and do the work. Keep on living.
Yeah. I really liked when you said that. It's almost like do it all wrong, just as long as you do it. To some extent.
Because if you're willing to do it, then you're willing to grow.
And we all get better with it in time.
Thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like that was a good episode. I feel like I learned some.
Yes.
So, and we'll have you back.
Yes, definitely. I
Often.
look forward
Yeah,
to it.
definitely.
I look forward to it.
All right.
Well, that feels good. Yeah.
All right.
Is there anything coming up? I don't think so.
It's a holiday, and like, yeah.
24th
I mean,
July,
we are
yeah.
going to start planning the Trans March.
Mhm.
So that's something to keep an eye out for. Like, it's something we really have to hit the ground running with,
Yep.
starting like now,
Yeah.
being it's just on September 5th. And then I know a lot of us are in talks, and I kind of want to put it out there, but like for next June, for us to have a festival, a trans festival
Yes.
in Boise.
Yeah,
Especially since all the gay shit is pushed to September.
Mhm.
I think a lot of folks will be craving. You know, I think there's a lot of folks that kind of feel a little like left out, if you will,
Right.
because there's everything happening everywhere else, which is great to go to other places. But
Mhm.
I think it's a really great opportunity probably for us to do
Yeah.
a trans festival.
Yeah, a trans festival in Boise
Mhm.
next June. It's going to be amazing.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Already starting to plan it and getting connections, and I think it's going to be really, really, important and beneficial for everyone here.
I think even better than, because I know originally we were going to try to do it this year with the March, but I think this is going to be like an even better way of doing
And
it.
the link to sign up is in our link tree to sign up to volunteer for the march, because we're going to need y'all, a lot of y'all.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah, definitely, especially trans and non-binary people.
Yeah.
We want this to be by and for us.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
we love you, allies, and we're going to need you, but we really need our folks to show up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, cool.
All
See
right.
you next week.
Take care. Love you. Bye-bye. Bye, bitches. All right. Thanks for doing that.
Yeah, of course.
It's always a journey.
We should put together a panel. Big news, Boise. We're building something incredible. A private community for Transjoy Boise is set to launch next month. This is your chance to sign up and get in on the ground floor. We are creating a space for connection, support, and growth, and we are looking for members who want to be a part of something special and professionals passionate about hosting webinars, leading in-person events, moderating discussions, and sharing expertise to enrich the trans community. If this sounds like you or someone you know, don't wait. Fill out our form located in the show notes and help us add value to this vibrant space before we officially open the doors.